Hi, my name's Michael Crawford. I'm your training instructor for this demonstration. Today we're going to cover consolidation. So why do we need consolidation in SolidWorks when it should automatically do it? Well, there's a reason for the way that we do these things. I guess first of all, if we've modeled our projects in such a way that each welded member has its own file system structure, it means that the component names are going to be different. Instead of using the same component throughout a project, we've actually got different components. But we need to consolidate those. We need to somehow capture those. Now we use an assembly-driven component structure. You may have been taught multi-bodied components, whereas multi-body components are very limited in that only one person can work on a multi-body component, and that is restrictive. And then maybe you've got over 100 features in that multi-body component. You started to notice that there's a significance in speed and performance starting to decrease because of the rebuild times it takes to rebuild the whole tree structure. So when you get two multi-body components together and they have the same, say, plates or the same sections, in SolidWorks you can't combine those. And that's the issue with multi-body components. You can't combine the components, you can't consolidate the components, even though that they have multiple bodies that are identical in either one of them. So we use this assembly approach with components. So when we insert something from our model library into our project, you can see that this particular beam is beam 4, and every file in it is beam 4. Including the sections, even though that the sections in this have a different file name compared to this beam over here, which is beam 2. So in previous lessons we've covered how consolidation works. Basically, if you were to go over and click on consolidate, you'll see that it's collected components that are the same, and it's given them a mark. So basically look at these 8 items here, and you can see in the tree that it's mentioned or noted that it's collected the components, and the component names vary. As you can see, we've got beam 1, we've got the same section in beam 1, we've got the same section in beam 2. So what it's done is it's picked up the properties of the components and it's compared them, and it checks them against the properties being your weight, your volume, your surface area, and your centroid. And then there's a rotation of axes. Basically, those, if they're identical in every way, shape or form, down to we had to work with, say, 6 decimal places, it's considered to be identical, and it catches it as being an identical component. So if it collects it as an identical component, and when we insert these items into our library, each item comes with its own drawing. So if we were to open up this drawing here, the actual file name of the component that's attached is the matching exact same component that's in that welded member. So we've got, in this case, beam 4, and it's section 1 for that item. If we go back over to this one, it's the exact same item. However, the drawing matches the link associated to that welded members section, and you can see that this is beam 2 section 3. The other one was different, if you've noticed. But because we've consolidated our application, when you make a change to any of the drawings that are linked via our consolidation method, each drawing will update. So these were the 2 items that are considered to be the same based on what's in our consolidation. However, both of them have different file names. Both of them have different drawings. But because of the consolidation and the consolidation running in the background, when we go to open up this drawing, and then if we change this drawing, let's just say we draw 2 lines across it and then hit save, close the drawing off, and then go over to the other one and then open up its drawing, you'll notice that because of consolidation, it's automatically updated the drawing when we click save on the drawing when we've made changes. So if you've got 500 components that are identical throughout the project, when you go to change a drawing, it will go through each drawing and save the current drawing into those locations and re-reference the component into the drawing. That means that realistically you're treating this like you've only got one drawing, but you may have 500 drawings. Doesn't matter which drawing you open up for which component, through consolidation it will automatically update all those drawings. However, there is a drawing that acts as a parent, so that when you go in and you look at your consolidation process and you click on a section, so there's 8, if you right mouse click you go open drawing, what this does, this is opening up what we call the parent drawing. And the parent drawing is the one that, if you notice, has got a green icon. If there's more than one, it's quite obvious. However, if there's only one, it becomes the parent. This becomes the parent because that's the drawing that is primarily the source of all the drawings. Even though you may right mouse click and click on a surface and then open a drawing, that won't open up the parent. So it's not good practice to go this way, even though that this is SolidWorks default process. You can open up a drawing this way, but it's best to open it up from within the consolidation of your assembly. And if I open the drawing up from here, I can see that drawing and it'll open up the parent drawing always. Now, if the parent drawing is the one that you open, that's the drawing that is going to be dominant in all cases if you come over here and you right mouse click and open. And it will then go to all the children, which are these ones that are not got a green icon, and update those drawings. Yes, you can open it this way, no problem, and save it. It'll update all the others, but it's best that you open it from here. Now, considering that consolidation is in play here, if I was to change any of these sections, I have to run consolidation again. Now, consolidation will automatically set it up so that your part marking is set for all of your items. Now, this is a database view of the information associated to what's in your model. Your custom properties may not reflect in their marks, which gets used in the drawings. And to do that, you've got to go to the tools. And our little tools interface here tells me that all my marks are matching the database due to the blue lines as a result. The blue line tells me that that mark matches. But if you're not 100% sure, just go update component mark and that will update all of the marks throughout all the components. Now if you look at, say, dropping a bill of materials into your project, you will see that that's been applied. So if we go up into insert tables, bill of materials, we want to do parts only, and whatever your bill of materials is, you may need to make some changes to it. I know I will. So you can see here all of my items have a description, and if I put a column in next to it and link it to the mark, you'll see all the marks have come through. So it's important that you see how your custom properties are set in which components, because then when you open the component up, that custom property actually really resides inside its custom property inside the component. Now sometimes I actually sort these items in order so that you can see them each part as they are organized. So it's really important that you see that the marks have been applied and they are in the custom properties. I do this for a check just to make sure that they're okay, but we're confident that the tool will do it. But sometimes you might make changes and forget that you may have consolidated, and then some part marks may have not come through. So given that we know that the part marks are being applied, what if we wanted to change the marking system to suit ourselves? Well, you can do that quite simply by going to the mark settings of the components, setting up a mark sheet template by creating a new one, or using an existing and saving that. So you can see I've got a couple in here. I usually set one up that I want to change just for that particular project, so I'll put the project number in and add a new one and simply give it the project number. And now that I've got a part naming system in place, I then can modify the way that it's presented. Most of my projects, no matter what project it is, the very first part mark that I put as a prefix is the project number. The last thing you want is steelwork going through a workshop where you don't know which project it belongs to, so it's important that you make sure you put the project number in place. I have seen in some places where they just call up whether it's a plate or a section, and then go 01, but they're not knowing which project it goes to. The component can get lost. If your project and you anticipate is going to be greater than 99 items, you should put another 0 in here so that you can count up to 999 items. It does not automatically append it, so that if you go from 9 to 10, it doesn't add the extra digit. It takes away a prefix 0 and keeps it in line. So if you've got 99 or more components for a particular component type, such as a plate, section, or a vendor item, the best thing for you to do is just to add another 0 and be prepared. Because what can possibly happen is if you've got 99 or more components, the consolidation won't consolidate everything because it can't find the next mark. And then you'll get no marks in your consolidation tree showing up. Now that I've made the adjustment, I'm going to update that template, and now I'm going to set that template as the template for the project. So I've just set it. Now I can click exit. When I've done this, I want to reset my marks so that my marks now come through as new marks. When I click on reset marks, it clears all the existing marks out of there. So this is something that you need to be very careful of if you've issued drawings. You don't want to click on reset marks if you've issued drawings. Now, if you've issued drawings and you've used our process of issuing drawings in the document manager, which I will cover later, so make a note of that you must pay attention to that one because it's important. Because the last thing you want is, why did my marks change after I've issued my drawings? It's just going to confuse your customers. So the best thing for you to do is to just reset your marks before you do any of your drawings or issue any of your drawings to your customer. So we reset marks. A warning will come up and tell you that the mark numbers in the project will be reset. So you're going to consider this. Yes, click yes, and that will tidy it up. And now you'll see we have 3 digits in our components coming up, which is what I allocated for the marking system for this project. You will find that this is a really simple process, and it will also make your life easy with your marking. Now, marking has not reflected back into the custom properties, so we need to make sure that we do that. So go to our tools, and you'll see that all of our blue lines are gone from our results. So you want to update the component marks. And now they are synced. So when I do a rebuild, you will see that all the marks will update in the custom properties. So that's pretty much consolidation in its entirety and how it works. Now that's for components. Let's have a look at welded members and why welded members are actually included in this. So I'm just going to turn off update custom properties and then run my consolidate, and now you can see my welded members have been collected. Inside my welded members, you can see the same thing applies. I've got all my components, all my welded member assemblies collected. Each one of these welded member assemblies are these welded member assemblies in the tree. However, the marking of the welded members that are being applied here may not reflect the filing system that you may have. Now, let's just say that, for instance, I deleted beam 3 out of there and then made it beam 5. What will happen is it will automatically create these mark numbers for these beams, and it will skip beam 3 and it will go beam 1, 2, 3 as 4 and 5 as 4. And it does that because this is a database driven custom property mark. So be wary that sometimes the marks inside the custom properties for your welded members may not match. And that's important because this information here is being saved into your welded member assemblies as a mark custom property, and that may not be the same as the welded member that's in your tree. Just be mindful that that's actually occurring. It's important that you understand that there could be a mismatch between the two of them. If you don't want that to happen, you have to rename your mark, your welded member. It could mean that you may need to upload it to the library, remove a couple, tidy it up and put it back in. At this current time we don't have a renaming process for these items, and it's on the list of things to do as far as our feature enhancements go. If you do delete 3 and you put in beam 5 and it skips, and you want to follow your tree structure here also, you might want to use pack and go and bring it back in and then reconsolidate, and then it will automatically set this up for us. So be mindful that this information could be different to this information here, database and then file structure. The quantities for the items will also be collected over here as well. When we consolidate, this information is being placed into those items. Okay, so now the filters that are being utilized here for the beams, as you can see when I pull down, you'll see beams as the filters. These are library model filters, and we'll cover that in the next training, in a training session in the future. Those filters are how we store the items in the library, and then when we insert them into the project, you can see beams are being applied. The mark settings that have been applied for this project have been set up to use filter abbreviations instead of the full name. So you can see here with that that assembly mark, welded member assembly mark name, that it's used an abbreviation. Instead of using beams, it's used BE. And this is going to also show that this is different to the file structure in your feature tree of SolidWorks, because this is the marking system that we are using that's overriding the file naming system that's in here. Our drawings reflect the custom property for the park mark and not the name of the file name. Just be wary that that's also happening as well. So that pretty much covers all of our consolidation. Why consolidation? Well, it's quite simply put, we need to do it if we're going to capture all the components in our project, and we need to compare those that are the same. This is the only way that we can do it in SolidWorks. With our file system and our file structure in place, it sort of limits us to using this. Now, why do we do that? Well, simply put, if we go in and we make a change to something that makes it different, then we want to be able to handle that change. So let's do a change and see what happens in our tree. At the moment, I've got beams in here that are separate in their naming. So I'm going to select one of these beams and I'm going to make a change to it, and you'll notice the change as it occurs. The two items that are going to get changed are in our section 1. Currently there are 8. So for me to change that, I go into the master sketch and I'm going to make that 1500. Now that I've changed it, it means that the marks are going to change, because when I run consolidation, I've just done a Control Q and a Control S, but when I run consolidation, you will see now that the 8 will drop to 6 and there will be 2 more new section marks in play. So when I consolidate, you can see now that the 6 has dropped off, but we've now got 2 more items that have occurred. This potentially can happen, so just be wary that that happens. We may need to reset the marks. Now, if we've issued drawings, the only marks of items that have a change are those that need to be updated through that reset marks. Anything that's been issued through our document manager is prevented from changing its marks. So in this case, I'm going to reset my marks so that 4 will become 2. And now there are, well, simply put, it's restructured the entire list, because now these are not the same marks. So simply put, if I go and click on a face and then go selecting consolidation, you can see that this is now section 2. And it does that because what it does is it grabs the information based on the components in the tree and then sorts them, and then says these are the new marks that these items are going to get applied to. That's pretty much the basics of what can happen with consolidation. The reset marks will set it back up for you. However, just be mindful that if you do make a change, it may not be the required change that you're after. So you may need to reset your marks. Now, of course, our custom properties are not in sync, so we need to go to our tools, and you'll see that the items that we had in play have changed, and we need to update those. And now we want to rebuild, and you can see the tree structure change to reflect that change. So now if we wanted to find out what items they were that are now in play, if you were to right mouse click and go isolate components, you'll see that those two items that were part of the consolidation have now shifted. We want to exit the isolation, and the two that were changed are now a new section 2, and that's those two. So that pretty much covers consolidation. If you have any issues with consolidation or need help with consolidation or understanding why consolidation does what it does, please contact us at support@cadcraftsman.com. We would be very happy to help. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next training session.